What's a house curve? Hmm. House curve. I think, man. Why don't you go? Why don't you go? Because
I think it's just the frequency response that you're trying to. A target curve is what it's also called. At least in our realm of audio, a house curve can mean different things than other outside of like home theater, home audio. But in what we do, it's like a target curve that you would try to hit, make your frequency response react a certain way, to sound a certain way in your room. But house curves can be dangerous. So that maybe would be a more long-winded topic, I think. But yeah.
because what is your? They don't know what your house is.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, really, because I think if you want to talk about house curves and kind of the concern I have with a lot of them, or just house curves in general, is if you don't know your speaker's dispersion and you try to target a house curve that maybe your speaker doesn't want to do naturally, then you have to start EQing the speaker to a lot of range, I guess, to make it hit this target curve. And maybe your speaker just, I'm not saying that EQing is bad, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying that some cases you might try to hit a target curve that is so far beyond what your speakers are really going to be good at hitting, particularly like in the higher frequency where, let's say, for example, you have, and nobody should ever have this, but let's say, for example, you have a flat house curve in room, which never want to do that, but this is an extreme example.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a speaker with a very narrow radiation pattern and even a falling off on axis response, which means that in your seat, you would have a really tilted frequency response going lower in SPL as you get higher in frequency, right? So if you want to take that tilt and you want to flatten it out, then you're either going to have to cut off a lot of bass, which I don't think your processor is probably going to do too much of that, or you're going to boost a lot of the highs. And the problem with boosting a lot of the highs is you're going to introduce a lot of extra power to those speakers and they may not take well to it. So you're going to be driving yourself into compression and distortion earlier. That's an extreme example, and I'm not saying that that's something that most people are going to run into, but that kind of gives you an idea of why I say that house curves generically maybe not the best idea. What do you do about that? I think you come to Joe or I or Amir or Audioholics or Soundstage Network, anybody who provides measurements on and off axis for a speaker to get an idea of what it's going to do in your room. And then you have a better idea of, hey, is this target curve really make sense for the speaker that I'm using? And then we could talk about the low end too, but maybe I've spoken enough.
This is a great question. I like this question just because I think it makes sense. If you're just kind of new to this, you're like, all right, well, tell me what the speakers should sound like in my room. Right. And let me make the speakers do that, and I should have good sound, right? Now, let me take it to an extreme example, right? So a lot of people like to use the Harman target curve, right? How would that Harman target curve sound if you were to use that as your target curve in your car? Would it sound good?
Probably not. Probably not. No, it probably sounds treble heavy.
Or not?
I think it might be treble heavy. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, because I've tried it, right, and it didn't sound good. Yeah. And it's because it's a completely different room. You know, I'm just using an extreme example that you can't just say this is the target curve, right? Because it depends on how far are you, where are the speakers aimed, what kind of speakers, you know, is it reflective? You know, what is your room like? And so there is no particular house curve. There's no correct house curve.
I'm writing this topic down because this will make a good video. Yeah. I'll just add this to the pile of videos that I want to talk about at some point, or maybe you and I can join on a live stream sometime and I'll just throw up a few estimated and we can just kind of talk about it. That would be kind of fun.
Yeah, and so for the most part though, the Harman target curve for a living room, something like that, is not terrible. Like if you're gonna guess, it's not a terrible place to start.
Yeah,
I would just say if you're really trying to get the correct answer though, right? So get it, you know, it'll get you in the ballpark. It's much better than trying to make it flat. Let's just say.
Right.
But if you really want it good, then you can't just use any house curve, and you know.
I agree.
Yeah.
The direct comes with a couple different ones as well, which I don't remember what they are anymore, but
they changed it. They changed
them
recently. So before it used to just be like a downward slope. Right, it was kind of like just a line, right?
Well, I was thinking they had 3 when I got mine. I think, and one had a little bit more bass. It seemed like I'm trying to recall, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. It sounds like they've changed their options here.
Yeah,
Well,
the new one.
so by default it loads up one, but I think what I'm trying to say is they had like 3 files that you could load in as a target curve option, at least for the mini DSP, CDSP that I had.
Yeah, they're all based kind of off like the Harman
Okay.
target, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
The new one looks at your current response. It looks at the natural response in your room.
Good.
And it uses that as a starting point, and then you can go up or down from that starting point. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's closer.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
That jobs are kind of what we're saying too. I mean, you should use kind of what your speakers are already doing naturally rather than forcing them to do something that they may not take well to.
I saw that you posted on your channel, like asking how many people are interested in DSP. How did that go?
Let me go look.
Yeah.
But the reason I think some people may have been confused, and I was kind of vague. I guess I should have been specific while I was asking, but my thought was, I can, with the anechoic data, I can just drop it into REW real quick and just get an on-axis EQ recommendation. And I was just wondering do people care about that? And then, if they did, then maybe I would also take the extra time to measure the speaker with that EQ curve and just show them this is the potential that you have.
Here, I'll share it here. So I have not voted because everybody knows. I think most of the people here know what I would vote on.
Yeah.
Let's just do it now.
What is it?
Do you use manual DSP, mini DSP, to equalize your speakers? What does this mean again? This is like a super nerdy thing.
Like, in addition to, or other than? Let me look it up. I don't know what the actual.
It's a very tool thing to say.
One of those things I've been using. And others. There we go. That's what
and others.
And
okay.
others.
Okay.
I liked it more than etc. I figured I'd use etc. too many times that day.
Smart people, man.
Nah, man, I'm just trying to look smart. That's all.
I'm not talking about typical room corrections such as Odyssey Dirac. In other words, if I provide you some EQ settings for a mini DSP up to 9 bands of EQ to try, would you be able to or interested? 727 votes. That's a lot. I'm going to have to say yes to that. Okay, there it is. 76 comments, too. That's a lot.
That's interesting. Yeah, what's funny is when I first started it, I checked a couple hours later, and it was about 45, 55. And I thought, well, that doesn't help.
So
Okay.
yes. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really take much extra for me to do it. Oh, I mean, it does, but it's not a big deal, I've already got the mini DSP down there, but really what that means is that I probably wind up having to buy a second mini DSP just to stay downstairs in the garage. I might. I don't know if I need it though. I just need something with like 9 bands. So the HD, the regular one, wouldn't be so expensive. That's what patrons are for. They hook me up.
So yeah, I'll tell you something funny I did over the weekend. I kind of posted on Instagram. Let me see if I could bring that up. Let's see here. So share. So on Instagram, it was my daughter's 4th birthday, so we had it at the park. And I've had this speaker. Right? It's like a PA speaker, but it's Bluetooth.
Oh yeah,
and
I saw your review for that too.
What's that?
See, I watched that review too. You were out in the park.
Yeah.
See?
So these are cool, right? I mean, they last a long time, and I think there's like 2 10s and then a horn, right?
Yeah.
So what I did is I used equalizer APO, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I took the measurement of this, and then I made it go down to 20 hertz because I don't need it to play loud. We're at the park, right? And this is my daughter's 4th birthday. I'm not going to be bumping these, So I equalized this, and they sounded really good. It's just something that you can do with DSP, and it sounded way better. Like if I turned it on and off, it sounded way better than, not having DSP on them. Just show you how crazy I am. 4th birthday, nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's all Disney music.
Some random dude walking by, be like, "Man, did you hear that 20 hertz?"
But yeah, we were bumping Encanto for sure.
Hey man, that's a good one. We don't talk about Bruno.
If you're interested in joining us in the after show, you can visit patreon.com/daily HiFi. We'd love to hang out with you and get to know you better. We're going to have a lot of fun.